You were here with By the Cover. Today we're going to be reviewing We Used to Live Here by Marcus Kliewer. This book was 308 pages and took me 2 days to read. I would rate this book an 8.2 out of 10. This review may contain mild spoilers, so if you don't want to hear those, click off now. So first of all, my likes. This book was absolutely nothing like I thought it was going to be, and I found it really interesting from beginning to end. I would say the pacing is really good in this book. About 85% of it I thought was perfectly paced, but towards the end I think it went a little too fast, but also a little too slow in certain areas. So the pacing was uneven from there, but for the most part it was great. I really like the main two characters in this book, Charlie and Eve, and especially the dynamics between them. I think both of them are really well developed. I especially like being with the main character, Eve, with her inner dialogue, and she's not exactly a social butterfly. Hearing how she deals with having people around her and how she gets more and more testy as time goes on, I found really hilarious because I find myself doing a lot of those things, and I could relate to it. There were certain parts with her character that I was laughing out loud, which was awesome. This book had a lot of article interjections of just kind of random things like newspaper articles or interviews or scenes from a show, just random things thrown in to kind of break up each chapter, and I thought that was really well done. I've read one other book that has done that, and that is The Troop, and that was one of my favorite books. But it's used to great effect here, and all the different inserts were really interesting, and I thought added to the story. This book had a really good mix of being both fun and creepy. It was certainly one that I kept thinking about after I'd read it, and it's almost like the further along you go in this book, the crazier you feel yourself. As far as my dislikes of this book, it had a common trope that I've seen before with a couple moving into a house with the intent to flip the house. I think that's been done quite a few times in the horror genre. It wasn't really a main part of the story, but it gets annoying seeing that over and over. I thought there was one unrealistic part as far as how someone would behave in that situation, and that is when the family that is visiting's daughter goes into one of the bedrooms and supposedly rips down the wallpaper to get to a dumbwaiter. The main character says nothing, and it's never mentioned that she gets angry about that. She just kind of joins in the search for the child after that, which I found completely unrealistic. If strangers came into my home and started vandalizing it like that, I'd be pissed and I'd be yelling at them. But that was only a minor gripe. I just noticed that and thought it was unnatural. The ending for me, it was, like I said, up to 85% of the book was great. Towards the end, it seemed to just go like really quickly, spiraling into madness. But it was just so jarring how it happened that I don't know if I think it's brilliant or I think it's lazy. So I have mixed feelings about the ending, and maybe that's a great thing and maybe it isn't. But I did really like the last page, and especially the portion where Thomas gives the... It's something subtle that ties into something earlier in the book, and I thought that part was brilliant. But overall, I would recommend this one. I really enjoyed this book. It was nothing like I expected it to be. I enjoyed the journey. I thought it was fun. I thought it was creepy. It made me question my own sanity. It taught me a couple things. Another thing I forgot to mention in my likes was there are codes in this book. There's some Morse code, and there's also some, I think, wingding characters that probably say something. After you've read this book, I'd suggest that you go research what those things mean, because it's pretty interesting. But that's about it. We'll catch you later.